I wish I knew these 5 things before buying the Asus Zenfone 9. The unboxing experience doesn't feel particularly premium like it does with some other brands. But on the other hand, the box does come with a charger as well as a bumper case, and that is highly appreciated. I use that bumper case every day. The printed documentation that comes in the box is pretty pointless. It only includes safety information in multiple languages. In order to get the whole manual, you'll have to go online. I paid around $850 for my Zenfone 9, and there's a link to it in the description below the video. As for materials, the Zenfone 9 feels really good, especially the back here. It has this sandstone-like surface. However, it is already starting to show signs of wear and tear, and I've only used it for a couple of weeks. Usually I keep the phone in the case that came in the box, so it'll be very interesting to see if the case will also show similar signs of wear and tear. In general, I like the design. For example, the camera group protrudes out a little bit, but the 2 cameras come out at different amounts, so you can really see that they are 2 separate cameras. I think this looks great. But as for the selfie camera on the front of the phone, the placement of it in the top left corner is not ideal. There are many apps that have their menu button up there in the top left corner, and sooner or later you will accidentally touch the selfie camera and smudge it. I'm used to having my selfie camera in a little notch in the center of the phone, and often I will use the left-hand side to pull down the menu. On this phone I can't do that because that's where the selfie camera is. Something that I consider a real design flaw with the Zenfone 9 is the placement of the SIM tray ejector port. The SIM tray is located at the bottom edge of the phone, and on the left-hand side here you see the SIM tray ejector. But there is a very similar little hole on the right-hand side of that SIM tray as well, and that's the microphone. If you're not paying very close attention, you will actually shove the SIM tray ejector tool into the microphone instead, and that's not great design. The fingerprint reader is integrated into the power button on the right-hand side of the phone. On that right side, there is a text saying ZenTouch, and then there's a little arrow pointing down. But that arrow is pointing the wrong direction. The power button and fingerprint reader is actually in the other direction. A final aspect of the design that I don't really like is that both the power button / fingerprint reader and the volume rocker are on the right-hand side of the phone. There are no buttons on the left-hand side. And what that means for me when I want to mount this on a tripod or a selfie stick is that I have to mount it very low down on the phone. I would rather mount my tripod centered on the phone and not at the very edge here. That also means that when I want to connect my microphone to the headset port at the top of the phone, I will need just a little bit more length, and that is not ideal. There is also the risk that the microphone cable will actually block the camera. As for software, there is very little bloatware on this phone. When I got it, only 10% of the storage was used. As far as I can tell, there were only 3 third-party apps pre-installed: Facebook, Instagram, and Netflix. And that's really well done in terms of cutting down on the bloatware. Because this is a compact phone, the default navigation relies on gestures and not the navigation bar at the bottom of the screen. I don't find it entirely intuitive. To go back, you swipe left or right from the edge of the screen. To go home, you swipe from the bottom of the screen. And to change apps, you swipe from the bottom and then you hold your thumb. Especially the gesture for back will often confuse me. When I mean to scroll horizontally in a web browser, I will actually make it go back instead, and that's not ideal from my perspective. The Asus Zenfone 9 comes with a physical headphone headset jack, and that is the most important thing for me. It is actually the reason why I bought this phone. The headset jack is at the top of the phone rather than at the bottom, and I think this is not an ideal design choice. When I'm walking around, I usually like to place my phone upside down in my pocket, but I can't do that because then I would potentially damage the headphone connector. There's also one weird thing with the headset. A couple of times it has activated as if I had pushed a button on my headset, but I don't have a button on my Koss Porta Pro headphones. I'm going to share a bonus tip in just a moment. If you got value from this video, hit that subscribe button right here on 2-minute reviews. The built-in camera app in the Asus Zenfone 9 is really good, and it has a lot of manual control features. So this means that I won't actually have to install the open camera, which I previously would use for manual control. Really well done, Asus. Overall, though, my first impression of the Asus Zenfone 9 is really good, and I've had a great experience using it for a couple of weeks. Learn more about the Zenfone 9 right here on the product page on Amazon. The headphones that I use are the Koss Porta Pro, an excellent sounding budget headphone that has a really distinctive look. Click or tap the screen right here to watch my full review of these headphones that I've used for 2 decades. Thank you for watching 2-Minute Reviews.